So listen up. You may not know what Graves' disease is. Heck, you may not even know what a thyroid is. I actually found out that I have early Graves' disease by chance. I was having a lot of blood tests due to having heavy and really painful periods. So I was getting checked out for that. And then only by accident did they discover this hyper Graves' disease issue. And I know the name Graves' disease sounds really morbid and like our whole worlds are ending. Honestly, the day I got my diagnosis, I cried. It completely ruined my day and then the following day after that, because you just feel like you've already got one foot in the grave. But anyway, catching it early has been a huge blessing for me, because you do not want this disease to progress. It can actually be life-threatening and it can change your health permanently as well. So if you can catch it early, that is ideal. There aren't any cures at the moment, so we can't rely on that, but there are things that we can do to treat and manage our symptoms. So let's quickly get some sciencey points out the way first. So your thyroid is an organ that is in the base of your neck. So it's about here. And it's an organ that releases and produces its own hormones. So those hormones regulate things like your energy, your heart rate, your metabolism, and even your periods. So it is a really important part of the body. The main hormones that it produces are called T3 and T4. More about those later. And if you are seeing a doctor about your thyroid, that doctor is called an endocrinologist, because they specialize in your hormones, your endocrine system. And one last thing, you may have heard of thyroid antibodies. So these are produced by your immune system, not your thyroid gland, and they target your thyroid specifically. So what usually happens with antibodies is they attack foreigners, like invaders in your body. So viruses, bacteria, toxins, etc. But when you have Graves' disease or when you have Hashimoto's, your immune system mistakes your thyroid as an enemy. So it sees your thyroid, your healthy cells, as a threat, and it starts mistakenly attacking your thyroid. And they tell your thyroid to make more hormones. We'll talk more about this autoimmune component later. Okay, so let me break down to you how I actually got diagnosed with Graves' disease. So we have to scoot all the way back to 2023. At the time, it was like autumn. I was having a ton of blood tests again because I had really heavy, painful periods, which I now know are due to or were due to endometriosis. But at the time, I was having like a million tests because they just were trying to figure out what's wrong with me. In the midst of having those routine tests, they discovered that my thyroid hormones looked a bit off. My blood test actually showed that there were two major issues. So one was that I had too many thyroid hormones in my body. My T3 was quite high, so that was showing at a 7, whereas normal ranges tend to be the 3.1 mark to the 6.6 mark. And then my T4 was also on the higher range, so it was actually 20.3, which is within the normal range, but it's definitely towards the higher end of the normal range. Usually T4 is between 9 and 25, so mine was definitely going up towards the upper end of that scale. And then my TSH was low, and usually when you have low TSH, that is an early sign of hyperthyroidism. So TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone, is a hormone that is produced by your brain, not actually by your thyroid. So the name is a bit misleading, but it tells your thyroid how much hormones to make, so how much T3 and T4 hormones to make. And then the reason why low TSH levels are often an early indication of hyperthyroidism is because when your brain senses that you have too many thyroid hormones floating about in your blood, it actually stops producing as much thyroid stimulating hormone. It's almost like it takes its foot off the gas. Your brain essentially tries to stop your thyroid from producing as many hormones by producing less thyroid stimulating hormone. So yeah, my thyroid hormones were high and then my TSH levels were low. And the endocrinologist that I was seeing said that I had underlying signs of an autoimmune disorder. But at that point, she didn't actually say what that disorder was. In all honesty, I wasn't too worried by that news. And to be fair, I had a lot going on at that time. I was like heavily focused on my periods and why I was in so much pain. So I didn't even have the mental capacity to properly digest the info my endocrinologist was now giving me. So that was in October of 2023. And then scoot over to February of 2024, I had my first thyroid MRI scan. And it was that scan that showed that I had a small goiter, but there weren't any large or noticeable growths or cysts. Now, a quick explanation of what a goiter is, because I didn't know what this meant at the time. A goiter is essentially an enlarged thyroid. So it means that your thyroid is bigger than it should be. Usually your thyroid is small and not visible when someone looks at your neck. So when you have a goiter or an enlarged thyroid, it means that something is wrong. Maybe your thyroid is overstimulated, like in Graves' disease, or maybe it is underproducing hormones and it's trying to overcompensate, like in Hashimoto's, or maybe your thyroid just has like lumps or cysts, like fluid-filled sacs on it, and those are called nodules. And then if your thyroid gets big enough, if the goiter grows big enough, it can actually be visible when people look at your neck. So your neck can appear swollen or like you've got a huge like lump around it, or you may have a sense of fullness around your neck area. And that is something that I sometimes feel every now and again, not often, but I do sometimes have that sense of fullness. So you want no goiter. You don't want any enlargement of your thyroid. And just for your awareness, the scan was pretty simple. I had to go to the hospital for it. They inject you with a radioactive substance in your vein, in your arm. And that substance, it essentially travels to your thyroid and enables your thyroid to be seen clearly on the imaging when they do the MRI scan. So yeah, pretty simple process. That scan takes about 10 minutes or so. And then when you go home, they just tell you like you should stay away from babies, kids, and pregnant women because you're radioactive. They also asked me to repeat my blood test in a couple of months, by the way, because they wanted to keep monitoring how my thyroid was functioning, how my liver was functioning, my thyroid antibodies, and also my pituitary as well. So my next blood test was in July of 2024. My TSH was still low at that point, but my free T3 hormone had actually reduced from 7 to 6.1, which was good news. Not perfect by any means, but it was definitely coming down and encroaching the normal range, which is about the 6.1 to 6.6 mark. And just for your awareness, I know that there's no such thing as like normal labs, but there are like typical ranges that they see in people, but that's a whole nother topic for a different video. And then my free T4 hormone had reduced to within normal limits, which was very good. I don't have the exact number. It was at the time, they didn't share it with me, but they said it was within normal ranges. Looking back, I'm not quite sure what actually helped my thyroid hormones to come down at that point, because I wasn't on any medication yet. But one thing I do remember is it was summertime. So because the weather was warmer, I had started to eat or like drink a lot more smoothies. So it meant that my diet had drastically improved around that time. So I attribute my lower thyroid hormones to a better diet. And I'll talk about diet and like what I eat in a little bit. So then in August of that year is when I started my anti-thyroid medication. So initially they had prescribed me with carbimazole, which is like the common or popular anti-thyroid medication people take if they've got hyperthyroidism or Graves' disease. However, and this is why it's so important to read the small print, the fine print, whenever you're prescribed any drugs prescription or even any surgical procedures, do your own research, because at the time I was on my fertility journey. So I was trying to conceive, and taking carbimazole whilst you're pregnant or trying to conceive is a no-no. I only realized that when I did my own research. Like I literally had the box of tablets with me, And then I was about to take them, but I thought, let me just read this small pamphlet here. And I saw that it was like a contraindication for pregnant women, or if you're trying to get pregnant. So I actually had to call up my endocrinologist and say, I can't take these tablets. They're not right. So she then prescribed me with PTU, which is like a pregnancy safe anti-thyroid medication. So she prescribed me with 50 milligrams of PTU to take every other day. So it was quite a low dose that I was put on to start with. And then by the September, which was like less than a month later, I had another blood test, and that showed that my thyroid hormones had come down even further. Both my 3T3 and my 3T4 were within normal ranges, which was amazing. But my TSH levels were still low, which suggested that there was still some work to do. And then that brings us to last month, so July of 2025. So I had a blood test which showed that my thyroid antibodies are elevated. And remember that our thyroid antibodies are produced by our immune system. So if they are even higher, it suggests that the autoimmune component of our hyperthyroidism, i.e. Graves' disease, is potentially getting worse. So that wasn't good news to hear. They couldn't actually detect or read my thyroid hormone levels. So for some reason, my T3 and T4 levels didn't show on the blood test. So I've got to repeat my blood test in a couple of weeks. And they've also said that I need to have another thyroid MRI scan just to check how my goiter is doing. Hopefully it hasn't grown. Hopefully it's the same size as before, or it's gone smaller. That is why it's so important for us to have our annual checkups. So to get our blood checked at least annually, to check various things, just to see if anything is wrong. Because if I didn't have those like random blood tests, I may not have found out that I've got early Graves' disease. And this is one of those conditions where the earlier you catch it, the better, because you can put this into remission with prayer, with like natural protocols, with so many things. You can put this into remission. And the earlier you catch it, the more likely that is for you. So it is really important. If you're not getting checked up regularly, please do, and ask your doctor, your GP, to test for all of your thyroid hormones. So your 3T3, your 3T4, your thyroid antibodies, the works, everything, because some people just only test for TSH and that's not really that informative. So make sure you're getting your annual test done and that you're checking for your whole thyroid panel. So we have spoken about Graves' disease a little bit. To be honest, it did take me a while to even get my head around what it actually is. And if you are still wondering, let me break it down for you. So essentially, you have hyperthyroidism, which is having an overactive thyroid, and that could be due to various reasons. One of those potential reasons is because you have Graves' disease, and that is where the autoimmune part of hyperthyroidism comes in. So with Graves' disease, your immune system, which is supposed to attack foreign invaders like bacteria, toxins, and viruses, it mistakes your thyroid as an enemy. So it gets confused and it starts attacking your thyroid instead. This causes your thyroid to become overactive and to produce too many hormones. And that's what we mean when we say that Graves' disease causes hyperthyroidism. Now, there are a few reasons why our immune system may get confused in this way. One is genetics. So some of us are more genetically predisposed to our immune system behaving weirdly than other people. Another reason is environmental triggers. So sometimes our immune system may get dysregulated by things in our environment, especially if we are already more prone to immune disorders due to our genetics. Some of these environmental triggers may stem from medications that you're taking, or it could be toxins in our environment, such as heavy metals, or hormone dysregulators, endocrine disruptors. It could also stem from stress as well, because stress dysregulates our immune system and it also dysregulates our nervous system. And to be more specific, it's more chronic stress that is the issue as opposed to stress. But all of these things come under the umbrella of environmental triggers. And then another reason is gut health. Around 70% of our immune system actually lives in our gut. So when we have poor gut health, it impacts on our immune system. So having a leaky gut, where the lining of our gut it essentially has holes in it and it allows things that shouldn't go through to escape and enter our bloodstream, or when our gut microbiome is unbalanced, when we have more bad gut bacteria than good bacteria, this stuff can overwhelm and dysregulate our immune system, which can lead to immune diseases and stuff like that. And then we also have our hormones as well. So our reproductive hormones like estrogen, they impact how our immune system behaves. And this may explain why as women, we are more likely to have autoimmune conditions such as Graves' disease and Hashimoto's. And there have also been studies that are now linking autoimmune conditions to endometriosis, which is what I have and what we talk about a lot on this channel. So our hormones also play a key part in this too. So to be clear, our thyroid makes and releases hormones. That is its job. That's what it's supposed to do. But in Graves' disease, our immune system actually produces too many antibodies, which attack our thyroid, causing it to overproduce hormones. Our brain then senses that there are too many thyroid hormones floating around in the blood, and so it takes its foot off the gas and it produces less TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone, but that hormone goes to like near zero, which is not good either. Luckily for me, and I really praise God for this, I don't have too many symptoms of Graves' disease. The only symptom I think I actually have is the slightly enlarged goiter, but that's not visible to the naked eye. I'm sure you haven't noticed any like swelling around my neck. Yes, I have that sense of fullness around my neck sometimes, but apart from that, I don't have symptoms. So super grateful about that. But I appreciate that you may have symptoms of Graves' disease, of early Graves' disease, or you may have been diagnosed and you're listening to this, just to hear from someone who kind of gets it. So common symptoms of Graves' disease are things like unexplained weight loss. So you may be eating the same, exercising the same, but you are just noticing the pounds falling off. You may also have rapid heartbeat, so palpitations, even whilst you are resting. You may feel sweaty and hot all the time when other people are like chillaxing and like they don't know what you're talking about. You may have shakiness, so tremors in your hands or your arms. You may also experience changes to your periods. So remember that I mentioned that your periods may become shorter or they may even disappear altogether. And then some people unfortunately experience thyroid eye disease, which is where their eyes start bulging and it can create double vision, blurriness, itchiness, dry eyes, and it can lead to like permanent eyesight loss. I'm just jumping in because I'm in the middle of filming this video and then I realized that I forgot to say something really important. So having Graves' disease puts us at higher risk of developing cardiovascular diseases. So because of the strain that it puts on our heart, we are more likely to experience things like stroke, heart attacks, heart disease, etc. So this is yet another reason why we have to be so careful about Graves and take this seriously, because the long-term possible effects on our health, yeah, they're very concerning. And the reason why I'm standing outside is because the sun is now going down, so I need some light. So yeah, that's why there's a change of scenery. And oh yeah, how could I forget? There's also the mental health aspect. Anxiety is common for those of us with Graves' disease, again, because everything is sped up. So also your mind is going at like 100 miles per hour. And then in terms of what I am doing to try and look after myself naturally, because yes, I am on anti-thyroid medication at the moment, but I don't want to be on that forever. And I don't like the idea of taking like pills and medications, etc. So since my diagnosis, really, I have been trying to look after myself a whole lot more. And there have been some things that I've been doing to support my thyroid, but also to support my immune system, because Graves' disease is not only a thyroid issue, but it's an immune issue as well. So we need to support both. I'm definitely going to make an entire video dedicated to like foods and other lifestyle things that I'm doing. But if I could like just very quickly summarize them in this video, I can probably group them into 3 aspects. So number 1, and this is for you if you want to adopt a natural or holistic protocol to addressing your thyroid issues and addressing Graves' disease. So number 1 would be to focus on calming your immune system. On this channel, we like to try and address the root cause as opposed to just touching the surface. If our immune system is overacting, then our thyroid will be overstimulated. So within this topic, I've been trying to prioritize my sleep. And of course, I have good days and not so good days, but essentially it's whilst we're sleeping that our immune system repairs itself, and quality sleep also helps balance our cortisol levels. We'll talk about stress in a bit, and it also helps reduce our thyroid antibody levels. So sleep is huge when it comes to Graves and hyperthyroidism. Also, our nutrition is a huge focus as well. So eating a diet that is rich in selenium, omega-3s and vitamin D, those all help regulate our immune cells so that our immune system can stop attacking our body. And then I mentioned stress, and stress is so important for helping calm our immune system because it helps calm our nervous system, and the two are not the same, but they are linked, they are connected. Stress is one of the biggest triggers of Graves' disease, and when our cortisol and adrenaline hormones are high, these are our stress hormones, they can trigger the immune system to start acting weirdly. So they overstimulate our immune system, making it get confused and it start attacking our healthy cells, which is what happens when we have Graves' disease. So to calm our immune system, we also need to regulate our nervous system as well, because when we are always in that fight or flight response, it means that our immune system is constantly on edge. So we need to work on how we respond to stress. We should ideally be able to pivot from that fight or flight response to the rest and digest response pretty quickly. We won't also feel calmer, but we'll be telling our immune system to stop attacking our thyroid. And we can do that via listening to music, praying, meditating on the word, going out in nature, breath work. There's so many things that we can do to calm our body and ease it into that rest and digest and supportive mode. And for me, these things are now essentials. They're no longer optionals. I have to do them, and I try to incorporate them into my day multiple times a day, because I'm realizing just how important it is to help calm our immune system and to calm that nervous system as well. So yeah, stress, our nutrients, and getting restful quality sleep are key for supporting our immune system. A second part of any natural thyroid protocol should be reducing inflammation and reducing oxidative stress, because both of these things damage thyroid cells. When it comes to Graves' antibodies, they don't only turn on or stimulate your thyroid, they also produce inflammation and oxidative stress, i.e. free radicals that actually damage your cells. These can make your symptoms much, much worse. So what I do is I like to focus on eating antioxidant rich foods. Think things like spinach, beetroots, ginger, turmeric, and even berries. I just put them in my smoothies so that I'm having them daily. They really help to neutralize free radicals and protect or support your thyroid cells. Balancing your blood sugar is also key here, because constant spikes in your blood sugar not only creates inflammation, but it also makes your immune system produce even more antibodies, which is not what we want if we've got Graves or Hashimoto's. So including proteins, fibre and healthy fats in every meal, this helps stabilize that blood sugar. And then avoiding things that create inflammation in the body is also huge here. So avoiding excess caffeine, alcohol, smoking, and processed foods, these things all create inflammation and oxidative stress in the body. And then the third thing, if I can like group these into 3 groups, is supporting both your liver and your gut health, because they both process thyroid hormones and they also help to regulate our immune health. As we said previously, most of your immune system lives in your gut. So if you have a leaky gut or poor gut health, that will produce more antibodies in your body and your immune system will remain in attack mode, which is not what we want. I like to support my liver by eating things like carrots and beetroots and citrus fruits. I know I need to eat more cruciferous vegetables. I eat broccoli, but I need to eat a lot more of that, and like cauliflower, kale, etc. So I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I am on that journey. And I no longer drink alcohol, and I've like really reduced my processed fats and foods. And then for our liver as well, it's so important for us to try and reduce our toxic load. So swapping those harmful household cleaning products for more clean options, opting for cleaner beauty, and eating organic fruit and veg to reduce our pesticide exposure. All of these things support the liver. So these are all really great changes to add to your natural thyroid protocol. And then I like to support my gut health by eating a lot more fibre than I used to. So now I eat apples and pears and oats and quinoa on a daily basis because those help your gut keep things moving. Prebiotics are really good as well. So asparagus, onions, garlic, or you may take a prebiotic supplement. That's okay too. And then fermented foods are not to be slept on here. I am still new to this area, so I definitely need to eat a whole lot more fermented foods. My sister is trying to get me onto that, and by God's grace I'll be there shortly. But yes, fermented foods are good to add to your diet because they are really good for gut health as well. And then there are a few like supplements that I take. I do have them listed on the Hormone Sisterhood website, so I can leave a link to that in the description and as a pinned comment if you're interested. But I will definitely go over supplements for hyperthyroidism and Graves' disease in a future video, so make sure that you are subscribed. So I know that there has been a lot of information that we have covered today because Graves' disease, autoimmune diseases, and hyperthyroidism is quite technical, it's quite sciencey, it's a lot to get our heads around. So if you have any of the symptoms that we've gone over today, please do get your thyroid checked out. Ask your doctor for those blood tests. There are even some saliva tests you can do. But yeah, remember that all of these things are connected. Our reproductive hormones, our thyroid hormones, everything is this one big wheel working and churning together. If you are trying to tackle this naturally and holistically, you need to come at it from both angles, supporting your thyroid health and also supporting your immune system health. I will continue to make Graves' disease and hyperthyroidism related content because we need a voice here. There is a huge vacuum when it comes to support for hyperthyroidism and Graves' disease. So I will continue to talk more about this on this channel. If you've got any specific requests, topics you want me to cover, let me know in the comments. This channel is for you guys essentially. And then don't forget that I'm also creating the Hormone Sisterhood membership, which is an online space that houses all of this great hormone health and holistic health information all in one place. So you don't have to keep searching in like 5 million places to get all the info you need to understand your body and how to look after it from a holistic perspective. I'm really focusing the membership on us putting this information into practice. So how do we daily incorporate stress management activities and nervous system regulation tools and techniques? How do we incorporate these things into our daily lives so that we're constantly supporting our hormonal health and supporting our bodies from a natural and holistic perspective, as opposed to waiting until things are too late and only surgeries and prescriptions are our options? So if that sounds of interest to you, I will leave the link to the waitlist down below, or perhaps by the time you're watching this video, the doors to the membership will be open, who knows? So either way, check out the link in the description box or as a pinned comment. Do subscribe so that you don't miss my next Graves and hyperthyroidism videos. And most importantly, take care of yourself, get your blood tests done, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care and God bless.